Hey everyone, it's Gankun and we'll be doing another deck profile video for Ultraman card game, and this time featuring a Tiga Nexus, a deck that's been popular in Japan, making its waves in a lot of different tournaments, and actually been featured in a couple of our latest match videos. So today, Tiga Nexus, we'll talk about the different cards, how the deck's put together, some different combos, and walk through a couple test hands to see what key decisions you need to make. But before we actually go into the specific deck, I wanted to talk about Tiga, Nexus, and Blazar. These are three characters that have had some different success in BP3. So here we had Tiga from BP1, we had Blazar from BPs 1 and 2, and then Nexus, who was now introduced in BP3. So we've actually done some deck profile videos on Tiga Blazar before. We've done Blazar Nexus, and now we'll talk about Tiga Nexus and then talk about how these three different pieces fit, and then might help you think about how you play these decks. They're all fairly similar with their own strengths and weaknesses. So, first off, if we think about Nexus, the new character we've been introducing, Nexus has a lot of utility, I would say, for this kind of deck. It has a very strong scene clear with its triple R, and it has some BP bumps that come from the same triple R effect, and Labyrinth, which is, I would say, probably one of the strongest scenes I've seen in BP3. So this provides a lot of utility and power that really can make Tiga decks a lot stronger. However, this is a trade-off when you compare it to Blazar, who, based on like Tiga Blazar decks we played, have a lot more consistency. So Tiga Blazar, by having that scarred scene and letting you level up a 1-2 into a triple, not requiring it in your hand, lets you do a lot more with your deck ratios, focusing a little bit more on the 1-2s, and then setting yourself up for a scene hit. However, this then becomes a battle for a scene, which is very difficult from Blazar by itself. Blazar does need to be able to take scene to be able to really get that engine going. However, when you are able to get your scene out and then hit the triples off of Scarred, that BP down from some of its triples are really powerful. And then a lot of that reveal three, rearrange the top three cards lets you fix any consistency or even give you an idea of what to expect from a future Scarred play. So overall, I think a lot of consistency, but alone isn't able to take lead for its powerful scene. And lastly, we have Tiga, who has been really powerful in a lot of these decks. So Tiga really all to me comes down to its triple R. Having that 18k triple is something that none of the other characters between these three have, and that lane swap becomes an extremely powerful tool. When you're able to get the lane swap going, you can switch it to turn 3 triple, put an 18k in the lead lane, and in most scenarios, that will get you lead. So any decks that revolve around a really powerful scene, Tiga has a lot of pressure to get that scene out there. And then from there, those decks, whether it's Labyrinth or Scarred, can really snowball. So this is just a quick analysis of those three characters and why this deck is played this way. So with that, today we're talking about Tiga Nexus. So a lot of this play will go around setting up a Tiga triple that you can use to get Labyrinth activated. And then from there, if you're able to meet that scenario, Labyrinth will take care of the rest of the game by getting you a lot of minus 2000s, balancing and breaking any ties for your other lanes, and then we'll kind of talk about how the rest of this fits together. So now let's talk about the deck ratio. So here on the Tiga side, we have 7 level 1s, 4 of the level 1 draws, 3 of the vanilla level 1s. We have here 11 level 2s, 4 of the scene searchers, and then just other more or less vanilla level 2s to really work with. The power type can come in handy as a PP bump, but a lot of it is really just to have enough 2s to set up towards these triples. So here we have our Tiga Triple R, the starter deck Tigas, and 3 of the power type minus 1000 on play uncommon. So the power type Tiga, starter deck Tiga, Triple R Tiga. So with these, as always, feel free to adjust these ratios to fit your kind of individual playstyle. I think these two are good examples of cards that whether you want to lean more into breaking ties in playing doubles with the power type Tiga, or playing these as a single or a triple, the starter deck Tiga can become really powerful. So just for a moment to talk about the triple Tiga itself. This Tiga is really what a lot of the deck revolves around, like we mentioned. So getting this guy out there, 18k, should win any lane, swapping it, and it doesn't even necessarily have to always be swapped to the lead lane. Sometimes if your turn 3 play is already winning lead and you already then have everything you need to set up for Labyrinth, sometimes it could be still worth swapping it into a second or other lane just to fix any um, bad hands you might have had or guarantee a win there. If your opponent plays like a 17k Mebius in lane 2, putting a Tiga there on top of that will apply a lot of pressure that should help you win those games. So then to talk about the scenes a little bit, I do have 2 Legend of the Stone scenes here. I think this is a card that you could even consider swapping with the starter deck scene from the Tiga Dynagaya deck, the one that will give any Tiga Dino or Gaia a plus 1000 as an activate each turn. I think that one might be a little more useful in its utility. However, being a turn 1 scene, you're not able to remove other turn 2 scenes. So if you're playing against Mebius and they have Champion of their Fierce Fight, and you're able to take lead, but you don't have Labyrinth, being able to have this in hand gives you like another method of scene clear. Of course, if you have the triples and the extra level 3s in hand, being able to play off of that to do some additional lane swaps or switch your power type Tiga into the triple R, always handy, but I feel like that's a scenario doesn't come up as often as I would like with this deck. Now the Nexus side. So again, the surprise hero of BP2, or sorry, BP3, that's brought a lot of utility. I think one of the most interesting triple Rs here. So here we have 4 level 1s, 7 level 2s, and 6 level 3s. So level 1 draws, pretty standard. We are running this a little bit lighter to leave space for the Tiga triples. However, I do have maybe a couple more cards here that I might otherwise have for any other deck secondary character, just because of these effects are really powerful as doubles. So I've opted to go for 7 level 2s. Again, feel free to adjust your ratios. So talking about the cards a little bit, level 1 draw, the level 2 gives you an ability to draw a card and then put that card on the top or the bottom of the deck when played as a double. This is also really handy, just like we talked about in the Blazar Nexus video, for fixing any bad hands and recycling anything, or even setting up a future Labyrinth if you have that set up. So lastly, we want to talk about, I think, the key players in this deck. We have the Triple R and the Labyrinth scene itself. So level 3 Nexus, really cool card. It gives you scene clear off of a triple. Not many cards do that. But not only that, but it can actually be used offensively to give a plus 2000 to any character. So if your opponent has their maybe a scene or something else annoying out there, you can use this to clear and then give a plus 2000. Bear in mind, if you're using it when you have lead and you have your own scene out, you do need to have a scene in discard, which is why we opt to run 6 scenes. Gives us an increased chance to get something into the discard there. And then you get that plus 2000. So as a triple, it's a solid 17k. As a double, it's only 12k, but more importantly, it has a bit of a burst where if you have the scene in discard or your opponent's scene out there, you can bump it by 2000, making it 14k, really good double number. Or you can flip any of the earlier lanes. So this is often, if you've seen some of our videos, really strong turns 4 or 5 play as a double where you can flip an earlier lane to a win. This lane, probably around turn 4 or 5, is often going to win as a 12k if you're getting to that long of a game. And you can also set up Labyrinth. So if Labyrinth's already out, this will more or less seal the deal by giving yourself a total of plus 6k across the board. The other level 3 Nexus here, really handy. Again, it's a 13k double, good number. And using it can help fix any consistency you need for setting up your ideal Tiga scenarios. By being able to reveal the top 3 cards and then discard them, it's almost like a second draw effect where you can control what you might get in your next turn, whether that's for Labyrinth or for maybe hitting that triple you need or that missing level 2. Always handy in this type of Tiga reliant deck. So now for the big scene. we have Labyrinth. So Labyrinth, really, really interesting card. When you're able to play this, you have a lot of momentum for the rest of the game. That makes it very difficult for the opponent to come back from. So with this one, more or less, when you discard the top card for your deck, you'll be able to give an opponent's character minus 2,000. So really handy for just almost like a free 2,000 every turn. Secondly, if you do hit a scene card, which either through just sheer luck or the setup from one of the Nexus cards, that's two 2,000s that you can actually give to two of your characters. So hitting that plus having a triple out or just good lanes, usually that will win the game. So that's more or less the key cards of the deck. So here, next on to like how we actually play this deck. So usually what I'm going for is a turn 3 Tiga. So if you're able to get a draw level 1 in your starting hand, and enough of the cards to that should get you towards a Tiga triple, whether it's a draw level 1 and a 2, and maybe just any level 3, or maybe the draw level 1 and the triple Artiga, but no level 2s. Sometimes you can still take that chance to hope you hit a level 2 off the draw effect. You have 12, or sorry, 13, or 11 level 2s in the deck. Pretty decent odds of hitting it. So you have some options there. And this will be a great turn 3 triple to set up and get you the lead, get you Labyrinth. I think between turns 1 and 3, if you're able to get the Scene Searcher out to hit Labyrinth or any of the Nexus cards to do some draw effects, always really solid. So your level 1 play is ideally a Tiga that will build to a triple. If not, whether you have like a vanilla level 1 and you have like a Nexus draw, it might be worth playing Nexus lane 1 as a draw, and then you could sort of play a 1-2 on turn 2. That way you're still set up for a turn 3 triple. And when you don't have the triple Arzapelion, you still have some good options. The starter deck Tiga definitely overlooked sometimes. It's still a 17k triple, gives you a BP grade decrease, so it's a good way to make sure you don't lose turn 3 if you're able to get this triple out. And the 16k Tiga, that minus 1000 can come in handy. Ideally, I like to play this more often as a 2-3 double, but sometimes this is what you need to get 16k. Let's say your opponent plays like a 1-2 Kaiju for 15k, like a Mephisto, this will get you there. And if you are lucky enough, you might be able to still use Legend of the Stone to later set that to a triple. I think one more note on this single, this level 3 triple R Tiga, you can actually play it as a pretty good single once you've hit like turns 4 or 5 beyond. It is a 9k single, so that'll be any 1-2. Well, it'll be any other single, and it might be many 1-2 doubles, assuming it's like a scene search. So when you're getting low on cards, this is definitely a good one to hold on to for the later rounds. This probably beat the single that your opponent plays. Now on the Nexus side, if you're able to build a triple Nexus, this is a good lane 1 17k or lane 2 17k. Otherwise, if you're not playing Nexus till later, it might just be worth playing this as a 2-3 double in one of the later turns. You can use that as a handy Nexus clear, scene clear, and then give that bump to finish the game. So now we'll just do one or two quick test hands, and then figure out how we want to talk about playing through a turn. So in many of the match videos, this usually feels like it either bricks or has a really powerful turn, which is I think the constant theme you'd see around a lot of Tiga decks. Whether this might be a Stiga, Tiga Blazar, Tiga Gaia. It relies a little bit too much on the Tiga Triple R, which is where hopefully maybe we'll get some Tiga support in BP4. He hasn't had any support since the starter deck and his first set, so that would probably make Tiga a lot stronger. But in the meantime, we'll just kind of walk through what you want to look for when playing this deck. So we're going to do a quick shuffle, that way we don't get stuck with all level 3s or something. But playing this deck so far against some of our videos with Chris, it's definitely the most powerful, I think, of those 3 decks we talked about with Tiga Nexus. Tiga Blazar, and Blazar Nexus, with the trade-off of that consistency. But if you're still able to get something together with a decent hand, you can definitely beat most decks. That Labyrinth setup is tricky to beat with a turn 3 triple R Tiga, and it's really tricky unless you're playing against an opponent's Nexus to beat Labyrinth once it's set up on the field. So we'll do some quick test hands and talk about what to look for when playing this deck. So I think the biggest decision for this deck is your mulligan. If you've got a good hand set up, that's what you want to see. And now this one is probably one you unfortunately have to mulligan. It's a shame to not get your level 3 Tigas, but you'd be able to play some doubles here, but you don't even have a level 2 Nexus that would let you look at some other cards reveal, so would not keep this. If one of these were actually the level 2 Nexus of any kind, it could be worth playing this first turn just to look at the top 3, find a level 1 Tiga you need, and then otherwise work off that. But oh, whoops. But in this case, I would mulligan this. So let's see. I think I had, yeah. So mulligan these. Look at what the next top 6 cards would be. And yeah, this would be a very rough one. Fortunately, maybe it's a bit of a bad shuffle just because we had all the cards laid out earlier, but we'll still play it through and look at things you would want to look for. So we do have a 2-3 Nexus. That'll probably save us from a later turn, and we would want to look at how we can make the most use of these level 3s. So pretty strong, powerful cards, but we'll want to see. So just starting off, probably will play this lane 1. This would be a 9k, so if your opponent plays like their typical 1-2-3 triple, they will have to play a triple to beat this card if they end up playing one of their scene search effects. So this is not a bad trade-off. 1 card for 3, you can definitely come back from that. So we'll draw here. Yeah, this one might be a lost cause, but anyways, you could use the same logic and play this again. And here, this is where, assuming your opponent, if they're setting up the triples, you can try and fight back for these 2 lanes. You could play this maybe as a 13k. If they're playing Mebius, you've probably lost or anything with the BP grade up. But assuming you're still in the game, here you can try to aim to win these lanes. They've probably played a scene. You could clear it. This would be able to give this a bump to 15k. And if you're still in the game, you can hope you have something there. Though I think this was a abnormally bad hand, so we're gonna do a bit more shuffling. Let's see if we can make this a little bit better. So those games happen though. Even with a better shuffle deck, there's still definitely games where you have too many level 3s, and unfortunately that's one of the worst ones to come back from for this deck. But if your luck isn't that bad, you should be able to do a lot more with the deck. So try again. Okay, so we have 6 cards. And this is something that's a lot more workable. So here we can see that we have a Nexus triple. This will definitely give us a lot of options to work with. We have the makings of a future Tiga triple. We have the scene search, so we can definitely hit a scene later. And we have a scene clear, so this will give us a lot to work with. So what I would probably do in this game is start with a level 1 Nexus draw. This will reveal 3. And what I'm really looking for is a level 1 Tiga to set up triple. Now, in this case, did not get either of those, but I would probably take the level 2 Nexus that gives us a draw effect. We can use this to try and get one more chance at getting another level 1 Tiga we might want. So next turn draw, got Labyrinth. So with this, would probably look towards playing this card. Now, if your opponent ends up playing, let's say, Champion of the Fierce Fight, and you need to definitely clear that for turn 3, you can always hold on to this as a 2/3 triple later. And then I would probably play something like this. This 9 or 7k probably lose lead, but you do have the option to clear scene and then kind of come back from that. So with this, we'll do this one. Draw a card. Again, not quite what we wanted, so we'll probably put this Nexus back on the bottom. Do a scene search. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unfortunately, that's where level 1 Tigas went. An extra draw and another Labyrinth. So again, this is not the best hand, and unfortunately the reality of playing Tiga sometimes. But we can then draw next turn. And then with this case, I feel like you would probably end up having to do something like this just to be able to come back from any tough opponent hands. Alternatively, you could do this. This is where, since a lot of this is power-based, you kind of really have to look at what your opponent's playing. So if they have a 16k triple you're expecting in the first lane, maybe they're playing blue or Rosa blue, or they're playing who else is there? Maybe Dinah or something, or even Blazars, just to make sure you're able to tie. This is always a good option. So this is probably your safest one going into to be able to survive into a turn 4. This will become a 19k. I think we've discarded a scene, maybe not, but if they played their scene, you might be able to still work with this. If not, still 17k. Turn off that, and oof, rough ones. You could probably just keep playing that and just hope you are able to take lead and then turn the game around. So that is unfortunately not the best hands. So not the best showing for Tiga Nexus, and we'll just do 1/3 hand. If all 3 of them fail, then definitely says a lot about the deck. I think even in our match videos, usually I have 1 bad game, and then the other 2 I have something that's a lot more workable. That being said, even though if these games were or these hands were bad, your opponent might still have also just as bad luck, and there are still a couple neat options like that. Tiga Triple R from the starter deck is a 9k single. That might tie, like if your opponent's playing kaijus like Belial Jugular and they get stuck on just a Scene Search Jugular, we'll tie that. Nexus doubles might be able to give you a bump to get the scene going, and then that could be enough to still squeeze by like a tricky game. So still not quite what I'd want to see, but I think this is actually doable. We just need to hit any of our triple Rs off these first 2 turns. So probably do something like this. I think this is a hand I would still keep. Let's see, then we'll reveal 3 cards. No triple Artiga, but probably still take the level 2 for later. Second turn, probably play this. Well, first you'd play this. Gives us another chance to hit a Tiga triple and play this. So first we'll do Nexus effect. 1, 2, 3. This is where you'd have to make a tough choice. If your opponent looks like they're on a roll with Mebius, you probably want just the Tiga to make sure you don't lose. If your opponent looks like they're not playing as fast, or they have like an awkward 2/3 hand here as well, could be worth taking the Nexus for later to give you some power there. But I think in this case, probably just go with the Tiga to be safe. Then do a scene search. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll take Labyrinth. It's definitely the scene you'll want to play to. And then next turn we draw. And then here's where you have a couple options. I would probably play a 1/2 Tiga. So let's probably do something like this. This has a decent chance of taking lead if they play like a Lightning Counter 0, even a 1/2 with Power type, able to take lead, shouldn't be a shutout. And then you can place like your level 2 Nexus here, and a level 3 Tiga here, and you should not lose. Turn 3, and you have a decent shot at getting lead. Next turn, we draw. Not the best level 3s you'd want for playing, but let's assume that if you were actually able to take lead with this, play Labyrinth, draw a card, and from here, this card's definitely safe. And if you have 3/1/2 doubles, decent chance that one of them's safe, especially since you have Labyrinth. So I would probably go with biggest number here, probably this 1/2, because you can bump it to 13k with the Labyrinth, and that should be able to tie something. So activate Labyrinth, not a scene. You'd be able to give a -2000 to someone. I think between this, pretty decent odds you're actually still in the game, and now we just need to top pick a level 3, and you'd be able to probably win something. Still not quite it. You could play this again. Be able to draw, get another shot at. You might end up having to discard one of these in order to activate the effect, but we would draw. With this effect, I would probably put this back on the top of the deck. And then your activate phase, you activate Labyrinth, and you might be able to actually win something interesting here, because this, let's say you discard this, this is winning its lane. You have the 2 cards from Labyrinth, and one of these should definitely be able to win. If depending on the match setup, these two are actually very likely to win. Your opponents might have their triples here. These might just be doubles or singles, and this would be like a 13k and 11k on turn 5. Not too bad. You actually could win with that. And if you tie something, maybe the game keeps going. We're still just getting 1/2, so the sad reality of Tiga decks, but this is definitely a hand that you could actually end up winning off of. So yeah, there's some level 3s, but anyways, unfortunately, none of the best hands, I think, off of this. Ideally, what we would have wanted to draw is something like one of these, and then if you were able to draw one of these, this can always be swapped as needed. If your opponent plays like Arc level 1 here, or level 3, 18k, you could do that, fix this, and end up winning this lane via Labyrinth against your 18k, and then this one has 17k with the effect. Alternatively, if we drew one of these, you could put it down here. 17k should win. This will set up the Labyrinth scene, and then that 2000 should get you set up. So definitely on the lowest consistency end of not having that Blazar compared to Tiga Blazer or Blazer Nexus, but you can see here that when luck is in your favor and a little bit of careful planning, you can definitely win a lot of decks with this. So this has been Tiga Nexus. It's a deck that I'll probably try at least in one Galaxy Cup. I don't know if this would be my top choice for a more competitive event like a US Open, but if you have a lot of events around you, and if you play this enough times, you're bound to get just enough luck to win your matches and put these combos together. So this has been Tiga Nexus. Hope everyone enjoys this deck, and let us know what you think about it in this video, or check out some of the other match videos with Tiga Nexus. Thank you.